Matchroom Boxing and Sky Sports have announced that the Andy Ruiz Anthony Joshua rematch will take place on December 7th in Saudi Arabia. Now, I've seen a lot of people on the internet expressing their surprise, their disappointment, and even their bemusement that this fight is happening in Saudi rather than in the UK. I've seen people come up with all kinds of different theories as to why they think this has happened. Some people are speculating that AJ will be able to get away with taking certain performance-enhancing substances fighting out there, which he maybe wouldn't be able to get away with in the UK or in the US. Other people are speculating that Sky and Matchroom don't have that much faith in AJ winning this rematch and are therefore just looking to shop the fight out to the highest bidder, in this case, Saudi Arabia. So, they believe that Saudi Arabia were willing to pay more for this fight than anybody else. And therefore, that's the only reason that Eddie Hearn and Sky have decided to do this. Personally, I think that something else is going on here. I don't buy those two other theories as to why this fight's happening in Saudi. I think something else is going on. And what I suspect, look, none of us are insiders. None of us are privy to the contracts. We're all speculating here. Let's get that straight right away. But I suspect the reason that the fight is not happening in the UK, first of all, is simply because Team Ruiz have dug their heels in and refused to go to the UK. Because this has been a pretty lengthy, drawn-out negotiation process. And during the whole time, Ruiz has been coming out in interview after interview saying, I'm not going to the UK. We ain't fighting in the UK. In fact, they might have even used the recent Dylan White controversy as leverage. They may have even been willing to engage in a legal war, which would have dragged the negotiation process out even longer. And who knows, maybe Ruiz would have got stripped of belts during that time and other Al Haymon fighters could have fought for those belts. Okay, it's all speculation, but this is what I suspect has actually been going on. And rather than get involved in a long, drawn-out process, Sky and Matchroom thought to themselves, all right, forget the UK. We want it to be... Because at the end of the day, look, Matchroom have come out and said they prefer the fight to be in the UK because they want to give AJ the best chance of winning. Sky have said they want the fight to be in the UK because they think it's, best for AJ. At the end of the day, even if they don't have much faith in him winning the rematch, they would surely rather give him the best chance of winning the rematch, because if he wins, whoever he fights after that, it's more money again. The gravy train can continue for a little while longer. So I suspect that Matchroom and Sky desperately wanted it in the UK, but there was some kind of loophole in the contract. They weren't able to get it done, so they've had to go overseas and choose a neutral venue or a neutral location. So why Saudi Arabia? Why not Nigeria or some other country? Well, the reason I think they chose Saudi Arabia, several reasons. One, because the time difference between the UK and Saudi Arabia is minimal. And that's actually favorable to Joshua. Okay, I'll explain a little bit more about that. I believe it's only a 2 or 3 hour time difference between the UK and Saudi. Saudi, I think, is 2 or 3 hours ahead, depending on where you are in the country. So that means that AJ will be able to train at a normal time for this fight. He won't have to adjust his body clock like he did when he went to the United States dramatically. No, he'll train at a normal time. They will probably adjust the start of this fight, local time in Saudi, to suit British pay-per-view viewers. So I suspect this fight is going to start, UK time, probably around 10 or 11 at night, like a normal AJ pay-per-view in the UK would start. And that's obviously going to help Sky when it comes to their pay-per-view figures. It's better for them having it on, 10, 11 at night rather than 4 in the morning. So that's favorable. Favorable for AJ because he won't have to adjust his body clock much. And it puts Ruiz at a bit of a disadvantage in terms of the body clock because Ruiz, I believe, is based in Vegas. And the time difference between Vegas and Saudi Arabia is something like 9 or 10 hours. So Ruiz is going to have a hell of a lot of jet lag to try and get over. Also, I'm not sure if Anthony Joshua has ever been to Saudi Arabia before, but I certainly know that he spent a lot of time in the UAE, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, etc. He's very familiar, certainly with the UAE, and Saudi Arabia is right next to the UAE. So he's somewhat acclimatized and accustomed to the culture and just the atmosphere, etc. out there. So it will feel less like an alien environment to AJ than it will to Andy Ruiz. So I think that's another thing in Anthony Joshua's favor. And, some people are a little, how can I describe it? Just disappointed or upset that the fight is happening in Saudi. But I think it's a good thing. Saudi Arabia is a country which is undergoing reform at the moment, and they're putting on a lot of these kind of events. And these kind of events are part of that process of reform. Boxing is a sport which historically has gone around the world. When Muhammad Ali fought in the Philippines in Manila, they never had no big boxing events in Manila before. When he fought in the Congo, in Zaire, taking boxing all around the world, taking the heavyweight championship. You're supposed to be the world champion, take it around the world. Mike Tyson did the same, fighting in Japan. So having a big boxing event in Saudi, I think is a great thing. And this is not the first time they've had a boxing event, world title fight in Saudi. As I say, over the past year or so, they've been putting on these kind of events. This was the World Boxing Super Series final here from last year at super middleweight when Callum Smith won. This was also in Saudi Arabia. There's Smith with the Ali trophy, and that's Muhammad Ali's daughter there presenting him with the trophy. So they've been putting on these events. They're very committed to boxing, obviously, over there now. And who knows, in 10, 20 years' time, we might start to get some Saudi fighters come through. Because Manny Pacquiao has always said that he was inspired, and many young Filipino people were inspired by Muhammad Ali fighting Joe Frazier in their country back in the 70s. And if it wasn't for that fight happening, we might not have got Manny Pacquiao. So the more territories boxing can spread to, the better it is for the sport as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, we might get some talent coming out of that region in years and decades to come. So yeah, I see it as a good thing. Would I have preferred the fight to be in the UK? Well, I wasn't going to go to the fight myself. So to me, it doesn't really make much difference. It doesn't make much difference. It's going to be on at the same time as the UK fight would be on. For me personally, I don't really see much advantage or much difference, this fight being in Saudi or being in the UK. For my own personal experience, it don't make no difference. I don't really care that the fight is not happening in the UK and it's happening in Saudi instead. It makes no difference to me, and it shouldn't make much difference to people who are only planning to watch it on television. But if you are planning to go and view the fight in person, then obviously I can understand. You're going to be disappointed. You wanted to go and watch it at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff. You don't really want to have to fly out to Saudi Arabia, etc. A lot of people have a lot of reservations because it's a very conservative country and whatnot, and they don't know what to expect. But as I say, I lived in the Middle East. I've never actually been to Saudi Arabia, but I've certainly been to many of the countries next to Saudi Arabia. I lived in the Middle East for several years, and people a lot of the time get their impression of that region from the newspaper, from the television, not from firsthand experience. I get my impression of that region from firsthand experience, okay? Some people are saying the atmosphere is going to be terrible at this fight because Saudi Arabia is not a country known for boxing. Well, I don't think the atmosphere will be terrible. The atmosphere won't be like a British atmosphere, but I don't think it'll be terrible. First of all, you have to understand what Arabs are actually like as people, because a lot of people in the West will be surprised to learn that Arabs are actually very lively and excitable people. That's how Arabs actually are. They're very excitable, very lively kind of people, and they're very open. Again, this is another thing that surprises Westerners. Arabs are very open people. When I was living in the Middle East, I would be approached constantly by just strangers, Arabs, who will just walk up to you and strike up a conversation. Now, in the United States, you might get that, quite a bit still. But in the UK, people are generally a lot more reserved and strangers don't interact that much in the UK. Whereas when you go to the Middle East, the Arabs are very open. They'll just walk up to you and start conversations as if they know you. I remember when the first few times I went to the cinema out there, I was a bit taken aback by how loud, a lot of the Arabs are in the cinema. They cheer and clap during the movie and cheer and clap after the movie and, laugh raucously and loud during the movie. So that's how Arabs tend to be. They tend to be very jovial, excitable people. Now, they're not as experienced boxing fans as people in the UK. So the atmosphere for this fight, AJ Ruiz in Saudi, will be a little odd. All right, it might be a little odd, but it will be lively. Yeah, they're not just going to sit there and make no noise and do nothing. They will make noise when things are happening in the fight. But as I say, the Arabs are an excitable bunch, and they'll be looking at the fight with kind of fascination more so than flat out excitement. But when dramatic things happen in the fight, they will react with excitement. Trust me. So yeah, that's my take on the Joshua Ruiz fight happening in Saudi Arabia. We haven't yet heard from Team Ruiz. So who knows? Maybe there's another twist in the tale. And Team Ruiz will suddenly come out and say, nope, we ain't going to Saudi Arabia. Who knows? But assuming it does take place there, I think this is a good thing for boxing. It's the World Heavyweight Championship at the end of the day, not the British Heavyweight Championship, not the American Heavyweight Championship, not the Mexican Heavyweight Championship. So for them to go overseas to new territories, just like Ali did when he went to Manila, when he went to Zaire, them taking this to Saudi Arabia, to the Middle East, I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing. I think the more territories you can spread boxing and have big time boxing, the better it's going to be for the sport in the long run. And as I've said, this might inspire, some young Saudi kids to take up boxing, or, other kids in that region from the UAE or, wherever, to take up boxing, and we might get talent out of that region. At the end of the day, Prince Nassim is an Arab, all right, albeit a British-born Arab. He was a very talented fighter, So we might get talent out of the region, just like we got Manny Pacquiao out of the Philippines decades after Muhammad Ali fought there, because Muhammad Ali inspired people in the Philippines to start boxing. Perhaps this fight right here will inspire people in the Middle East to start boxing. So we'll see. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and how much of a bearing do you think this location choice is going to have on the outcome? Because at the end of the day, there's all kinds of talk about, the location, how it's going to be for viewers and all this kind of business, and for the best atmosphere, and, a whole heap of other reasons, people getting into social and geopolitical reasons and all that kind of business. But with all that aside, it's a boxing match. It's a fight. Two men are going to fight in the ring. Who do you think this choice of location is going to favor more? AJ or Ruiz? Or will it not make that much of a difference? To be honest, it may not make much of a difference. But as I say, if anybody is going to be negatively impacted by this choice of location, I would have thought it'd probably be Ruiz, because he's not as familiar with the region, and he's going to have to overcome a hell of a lot more jet lag. In fact, AJ's not going to be jet lagged at all, whereas Ruiz will be. He'll be severely jet lagged. He'll probably have to maybe go to the UAE. They've got several boxing gyms, multiple, good facilities in the UAE when it comes to boxing gyms. So maybe he'll go out there, train out there for a little bit. Then when it comes to fight time, maybe then go to Saudi Arabia and, have the fight and what have you. So, and maybe AJ will do the same thing. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.